You're terrified of a market crash, aren't you? You check your 401k, you watch the news, you worry about interest rates. But while you're staring at the horizon for a storm, your house is already on fire from the inside. See, the biggest risk to your financial future isn't a dip in the S&P 500, it's the paycheck that you got last Friday. It's your salary, right? Your salary is essentially a sedative. It's a monthly dose of good enough that's keeping you just comfortable enough to forget that you're trading your life for a line item on someone else's balance sheet. You think you're safe because you have a cubicle and a health plan? I want you to think again, because you're not safe. If anything, you're vulnerable. Listen, the dreams are big, but the margins are thin. Welcome to the Home Business Hustle. I'm your host, Isai Rodriguez, and in my world, we don't do maybe, we do math. We don't follow trends, we build systems. No fluffs, no filters, just cold, hard truth. Let's dive into today's discussion. So I'm dead serious. This so-called job security, it's a myth, right? It's the greatest work of fiction ever written, in my opinion. I have a friend, right? We'll call him Mike. Mike spent 15 years at a stable Fortune 500 company. He was essentially the vested veteran, if you will. He had the corner office. He had it all, the mid six-figure salary, and the belief that he was indispensable. He was essentially, for all intents and purposes, he was comfortable. So comfortable that he stopped building. He stopped looking out for himself. He stopped looking for leverage, right? Then all of a sudden on a random Tuesday morning at 9:01 a.m., a guy in a suit that he'd never met told him that his position was being optimized. So basically, 15 years of security essentially evaporated within 15 seconds, right? Mike had zero equity, zero customer lists, and zero systems of his own, anything to rely on. And he realized way too late that he hadn't spent 15 years building a career. What he did was he spent 15 years building someone else's empire while his own muscles essentially atrophied, right? See, the seven-figure mistake that Mike made, and potentially you may be making, is confusing a steady paycheck with steady progress. This episode is going to prove that your safe job is actually the highest risk asset in your portfolio. So let's start by running the audit on your 9 to 5, right? Let's start off by looking at the math of employment versus equity, right? So let's talk about equity. In the world of investing, if you put 100% of your money into one single stock, people will call you insane, right? So then why is it that people put 100% of their income into one single source? One employer, right? Because if that one source decides to cut them or to cut you, then your revenue goes to zero overnight. That to me is a 0 out of 4 on the equity scale, right? You don't own the seat. You're literally or essentially simply renting it. And the cost of that rent you pay with your life, right? Now that said, let's look at the math of that amazing raise that you got or that you get every year. See, most companies, what do they offer? 3-4% annual increase, maybe 5% if you're a top performer, right? But if inflation is running at 5 to 7%, then your comfortable job is actually giving you a pay cut every single year. Are you with me? Right? That means that you're working harder to be able to pay to buy less, right? Your money is a lot weaker year after year. It doesn't have the same buying power, right? You're essentially on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up, right? While you simply get older. That right there, that scenario, that is a failing grade on the time cost audit. Here's what my mentor told me about this whole scenario. Because I asked him, I go, what, I wanted to understand how he viewed this whole, employment thing, this, being employed, job security, all this false narrative that we're fed from however long it's been fed to us. And he tells me, he goes, fragility is the absence of options. What does that mean? Well, if you can't replace your income without asking another human being for permission to work, then you're financially fragile. Period. See, true wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how many ways you make it. And more importantly, how much of it you get to keep at the end of the month, right? See, the goal isn't to quit your job tomorrow. No, the goal is to build a parallel system of leverage, parallel at the same time, right? You need an income stream that doesn't care about your boss's mood, an income stream that doesn't care about the company's quarterly earnings. You need an income that doesn't care if, there's no money in the budget, because there always will be money to be made, right? You need to essentially turn your comfort into capital before the option is taken away from you, right? That's a little deep right there if you think about it, because the reality is that comfort is a slow poison for your ambition. When you're comfortable, you don't innovate, you don't seek leverage, you don't build residual royalty. So you essentially spend your best hours, your best brain power, and your best years solving problems for a company that'll replace you on a job board before your obituary is even printed, right? That's the real cost of safety. The cost of your safety is the empire that you never, ever get to build, right? So you can stay comfortable, by all means, if that's what you want. You can keep believing that the benefits package is a shield that'll protect you forever. You can keep that false narrative if that's makes you happy, right? You can keep ignoring the math while your single source of income gets more fragile by the day. But if you're being honest with yourself, then you know that good enough is a dangerous place to be, right? And here's the good news, is that there is an alternative, right? There is a way to build a leverage offense while you still have the safety net of your current income, right? That's the whole parallel thing. It's what I've done for myself, and many others have done, right? It's a model that scores a 4 out of 4 on the audit because it focuses on building actual residual royalty that you actually own. Ownership. That's the key. I'm talking about a structure where you own the distribution, you own the equity, you own the time, your own time, right? No inventory, no cold calling, and no asking for a 3% raise every year while inflation hits you with 5 to 7%, right? And here's the thing. Most people are too comfortable to even take a look at the math, right? They'd rather wait for the layoff to start thinking like an owner. That's crazy in my eyes, right? So here's a word of advice, right? Don't be most people, right? That's what most people do. Don't be that person, okay? Don't make the 7-figure mistake of waiting for a crisis before you build your arc, right? And listen, I've put together the 7-figure mistake audit checklist. It's designed to show you exactly how fragile your current situation is, and more importantly, what the high leverage alternative looks like, right? Follow the link in the description, run the audit, see the math for yourself. Do it now, because comfort I'm telling you, comfort is a liability that you can't afford. You don't want to try to afford that. All right. So there you have it, my friends. The audit is now closed, but your move is just beginning. You've got the math. Now go get the money. I'm your host, Isai, and this is the Home Business Hustle. Remember, if it doesn't scale, it's just another jail. So stop trading your time for a dime and start building your residual royalty today. Catch you on the other side. All right, I'm out, friends. Take care.